Hey everyone, welcome back to Royal News Network. The bells are ringing in our honor today. I am in Krakow still, and I just don't have a nice place to film. So today I'm actually filming at Warwick Castle. So I thought it would be super cool to film here today because literally the palace walls or the castle walls are my background. You can't get any cooler than that, right? Especially for a royal channel, what can I say? And we have the city skyline in front of us, but there's just this quiet little corner off the back of the castle, and I just thought it would be fun to take a bit of time and talk about the Meghan Markle's podcast release. Yes, it has come out after 6 months or so of when they released the initial trailer. We finally have gotten a full episode of it. It is an hour, it is with Serena Williams, and the reviews are not good. And I just thought it would be really interesting. I haven't had a chance to listen to the full podcast yet. And honestly, I'm not looking forward to it because it's just going to be banal and boring and vapid and vain and very annoying. So I just thought it would be fun though to kind of analyze kind of the many faces of Meghan Markle, because I feel like we keep getting new faces all the time because there's this constant rebranding effort with her because nothing is working, so she's constantly adjusting her image. But the problem is it's not really your brand that's the problem, it's you. And when you make yourself the brand, that's the problem. So anyways, guys, I just thought it would be fun to kind of analyze a bit of what happened kind of after the release. And once I'm done with, this is kind of a work trip and then a bit of free time too, when I have a second and I feel like putting my ears through the podcast, I will listen to the whole thing and give you a review because I do want to listen. Now, somebody said, hey, you can just read the transcript, which is true. I do have a link to a transcript, but I also want to review it and give it 1 star, so I have to listen to it to be able to do that. So anyways, guys, if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany, and I'm not normally in Krakow, Poland, and I do not normally have a castle as my background. But on this channel, I love talking about royals, and we talk about everything related to royals, and so I will have like a full video talking about the castle coming soon. I took some kind of B-roll footage, some pictures, and some swivel around shots, and so hopefully that'll be a bit of fun. So be on the lookout for that as well. But like I said, I just wanted to talk today about the podcast. And oh yes, please subscribe if you haven't already. So I talk generally about royals, so it's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, movies, and history. I do it all right here. So yes, if you want to subscribe, that would be great. And like I said, I just wanted to talk about this podcast launch because I find it kind of fascinating. And it's just, I feel like very weird, very odd. And I just wanted to have some fun and discuss it a bit. So when it launched, it was kind of interesting because we had a picture drop earlier in the day that somebody said could maybe be a sign that, hey, the podcast is coming out. And now I think it was kind of a precursor. Now, most of the time they schedule a podcast to go out at like midnight or something like that. And it's entirely possible that it had come out and I just wasn't looking, because the weird thing is it's not under the Archewell Audio banner. It's actually a whole separate page now on Spotify. And I wonder if part of that is because the Archewell Audio already has it already only has like 3 point something stars, like 3.3, which is not a good review. So I think they thought maybe in a way that they would go ahead and redo it, and we're like, okay, we'll launch it on another site, because like the process was, or at least what we were led to believe initially, is that everything would launch on the Archewell kind of under that banner. But as it turns out, I guess that's not really the case. And they're kind of trying to, it seems like, come up with and separate brand that's not doing well, which is Archewell itself, and like, oh, we'll launch Archetypes. That'll be better. And so far, it seems to have done well, supposedly. Now, I say supposedly because I honestly really don't believe this, because I think Spotify, they've paid a lot of money for Harry and Meghan. They needed to do well. So for some reason, it has eclipsed Joe Rogan's program, according to the Spotify charts. But the thing is that Spotify has a vested interest not only in Joe Rogan, because they are exclusive to Joe Rogan as well, but they also have a lot invested in Harry and Meghan. And so I can see them internally messing with the charts and putting Archewtypes first. But again, we didn't get any pre-information about this. We got this picture of Meghan with like her hair in a more natural style, which we've never really seen before. You know, she had Archie and Doria with her apparently on some sort of like Zoom call. And then all of a sudden the podcast drops. And it was just, I thought, just very strange that they didn't do any promotion for this, because I think they know this is a pretty toxic brand, but they paid a lot of money for this. And if you see this if you go to Twitter and you go to the Spotify thread, I mean, it's all so negative about Meghan and her podcast. And so you got to be thinking, as Spotify is like, we paid so much money for this woman, and yet half the people don't like her. And I think, again, I think it could be her stands that are just basically spamming Spotify potentially to get it to go up. But I just thought it was rather interesting that they didn't even do any promotion for it. I think in part because if you do promotion for something, that means you have to go in front of people and actually promote it. And the difficulty is, I mean, they are huge names, Harry and Meghan. So I could see them not really needing to do much. I think that to a certain extent kind of works. But I also think that they were a little worried about putting her in front of people because they need like a sycophantic journalist, which there are those, because they don't want anybody to ask her any tough questions. And I think they wanted like the release of the story about the fire in South Africa. You know, they wanted their 2 cents like Oprah Winfrey got from them. So I could totally see them doing that. But again, the whole thing I just felt like was incredibly odd. And then we have the picture to go with it. And I don't know, like, she looks weird. Is she constipated? Is it like, the expression I just feel like is odd. Her hair is messy because her hair is always messy. Now I get it, some of that could be just her natural hair texture, but even as a royal, like, you know, she wore like messy buns. Like, I'm totally all for wearing buns and messy buns if you're going to the market or something like that. But if you're at a professional event, do not wear a messy bun. That's just totally inappropriate. And I just thought it was kind of very weird that they just were very quiet about this, and it did release to some fanfare. Obviously everybody reviewed it really quickly. It got a lot of negative reviews, and I don't think that's necessarily surprising, especially from the Brits, because nobody generally likes her. But I just do feel sorry to a certain extent for Spotify, because you got to think, when they hired Harry and Meghan, they were a pretty safe brand at that point. Yes, they had been a bit tarnished by Megxit, but they were kind of a new element. They were a curiosity. You could see it actually doing well. But kind of the opposite thing happened. After over a year, the public perception of them just got lower and lower and lower and lower. And so they're kind of stuck with this rather toxic brand. And so, like, the first thing is, again, they didn't promote it. And going back to that picture, I just think it's a terrible picture. And it's like she's making it out like this is the craziest thing in the world, when it's really kind of not. Sorry, I keep looking at my screen instead of my little picture thing. So going back to the picture, I just don't think it's a very good picture. And I don't know what she's trying to evoke, except for kind of perhaps goop. She's kind of going for a Gwyneth Paltrow-esque goop type thing. But she just doesn't really have the gravitas in pictures really to pull something like that off. Somebody even showed me pictures of Princess Diana that she could have been trying to like kind of mimic. But again, she doesn't even have half of the charisma of Diana. So I just don't think the picture works. And honestly, I don't get her expression. It kind of looks like weirdly constipated, weirdly like thinking or something. I don't know. I'm not the best of expression, so what do I know? But it's just, again, I thought was kind of something very strange about it. And the other thing that was, I think, concerning even for, you know, if you are somebody who actually believes they are happily married, is that they've separated her Archetypes from Archewell. So Archetypes should have been launched under the Archewell Audio banner, unless they've like completely like crushed that or something, because her trailer went out on that. So if they were already going to create a new separate Archewell like banner kind of site, why didn't they just do that in the first place? Why then drop the trailer under Archewell Audio and then move over to something totally different? again, I think it shows as well is that the whole concept of what they were going for in the beginning, which was them together. I mean, they were always marketed together initially with Spotify, just was never going to be the actual case. But I think the biggest and most notable thing about this whole thing is this little trailer of hers. So listen to this.
People should expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know. Certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey, it's me. I'm just excited to be myself and talk and be unfiltered, and yeah, it's fun.
Okay, I saw this and I'm like, excuse me? Like, we know a ton about you. You talk all the time. Like, I know your opinion on things I wouldn't ever care to know your opinion on. So you constantly barrage us with your opinion, your thoughts on things. Like, you send letters to people all the time, letting them know I'm behind you. And that tells us who you are to a certain extent. So why are you saying, well, the media's defined me? No, it hasn't. You've defined yourself through the media. And part of the way you've done that is through constantly putting yourself in the media through friends and family. What the issue has always been is that the media did not fawn at your feet and you face criticism. That is the issue. That is what she's frustrated by. She's not frustrated that, her voice didn't get out there. She talks all the time. That's not the issue. The issue is that people didn't love her voice. People didn't accept her voice. People didn't blindly follow the opinions of Meghan Markle. And I think that's the huge issue for her. And the other thing that drives me bonkers, and again, I think it goes back to this constant rebranding effort, is it's me. And it's like, so we're not supposed to call you the Duchess of Sussex anymore? Like, you put that on everything. Like, literally you have letterhead with a crown over your first initial, basically telling us to please call you the Duchess of Sussex. And you're like, it's just me. Honey, we've seen you the entire time. That's not the issue. And I just found it kind of presumptive and very, very, disturbing in a way, that she wants us to think that we don't know her and that she's going to explain herself to us. So here's the thing. I think there's some instances where people don't really know somebody. I'm thinking of, let's say, J.C. Dugard. She was a woman in the United States. She was kidnapped when she was a child, and she ended up going on, I think it was like Diane Sawyer or something. And she wanted to tell the world the true her. That I see, because we hadn't heard from her yet. She had been captured and kidnapped and held for years. And so we didn't really know her. So I understood why she wanted us to know her. It made sense. The problem is we've heard way too much about Meghan Markle. We know a ton of things about her. And that she constantly has to go over this again and again and again is this constant effort of branding and rebranding and reimagining herself over and over and over again. And it's just something that just doesn't work after a while, because if you are true to yourself, we don't see you in particular masks, let's say. So for Catherine, I don't see her in a duchessing mask and a mothering mask, or a future Princess of Wales mask, or just being Kate Middleton mask or something like that. I feel like when I see her, most of the time she is who she is. Yes, I think that to a certain extent being royal is performative, because you do need to react to what people are doing. That I totally get. But I feel like Meghan has a particular look when she's trying to be California cool. She has a particular look when she's trying to seem like she's a mother. She has a particular look when she's doing this podcast. She has a particular look when she's duchessing. And I feel like all those together kind of, again, formulate this perspective by, me and I think others, is that there's something fundamentally untrue about her. There's something fundamentally fraudulent about you if you're constantly changing up what you look like, how you act, how you do different things in different situations. Because if you are true to yourself, you don't really need to act. You don't really need to change up what you're doing. You just do what you do. And yes, you change different things based on the situation. But I feel like Meghan's always trying to wear different masks and trying to constantly rebrand and reestablish herself again and again and again. And in the first episode of the podcast, so I haven't listened, but I read part of the transcript, is that she, again, I'll do a whole video on this because I find her obsession with this story fascinating. It's this stupid Procter & Gamble story. Her belief that she changed herself changed a multi-million-dollar corporation ad. I mean, just to think that as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old woman, you are delusional. Like, you are delusional. There's no way that a child changed a multi-million-dollar ad unless you are the child of somebody at Procter & Gamble, like in the upper echelons. And she has to go over it again because she needs to reestablish her credentials. Well, if this is your one claim to fame, because I feel like she refuses to let the story die, and it's just really interesting. So again, I feel like this whole thing is another rebranding, another attempt to make the brand of Meghan Markle work, because it's not working. She's tried doing the duchessing thing, the coy, the smiles, the acting like Diana. Didn't work. So she tries being California cool. Doesn't totally work. Then she tries being motherly. Well, that doesn't totally work because nobody ever sees you with your kids. So it kind of doesn't work. I feel like they're trying to push themselves as parents. Doesn't really work unless we see you parent. And if we don't see you parent, like, it's hard to see you as a parent, just generally. And so she's trying to do all these different things, and none of it's working. So she's trying to come up again. Well, hey, it's just me. Well, it's like, well, if it's just you, why do you need people to call you the Duchess of Sussex? Just be you. But that's the fundamental problem. Who is Meghan? She's self-obsessed. She's narcissistic, obviously. But I don't think she has a true vision of who she is as a person. And ergo, she has to constantly adjust and change constantly, depending on the situation, trying to get people to like her. And that fundamentally will always lead you down a bad road, because if you are not genuine, I just don't think, if you're not just who you are plainly, if you're trying to adjust yourself based to your audience every single time, or what you think your audience is, then I think you're just kind of a fraud. And I think that's becoming more and more evident, and also more and more evident that she's a one-trick pony. She has to do this all the time because she doesn't have anything else. The only thing she talked about in her podcast was herself, complaining about the royal family, and a couple of questions to Serena Williams. That was it. What that tells us is, again, is that she has no depth. She's vain, she's vapid, she just doesn't have anything to say. And she has to go over the same things again and again because she really doesn't have any other credentials. Like, again, the Procter & Gamble thing. Why not just let that go? I hate to say it this way, but any adult in the world should know that a child, a no-name child, I'm sorry, but I was a no-name child too. Most kids are no-name child. They don't care. Like, that it's like she believes in Santa Claus as a 40-year-old. Again, I'll do a whole video on this because, again, I find her delusion in this area super duper interesting. But again, right now, currently, the last I saw, that it is somehow the #1 podcast, which I find really weird. And I feel like Spotify is messing with things behind the scenes. And the reason I say that is that because they do own Joe Rogan and they do own Meghan Markle. They know Joe Rogan's fine. If he goes down to #2, it doesn't matter. There's still like 11 million people listening to him per week. But if they shove Meghan Markle up, maybe her thing will do better. Now, granted, she does have like 12,000 reviews or something, at least the last time I looked. And she's at 4.1 stars. So her star thing is going down every time. And I keep waiting for it to hit 4 and then 3.9. I need to watch it so I can review it and give it one star. But I think I would guess her fans are like spamming it, hoping to get, keep getting the numbers up and up and up. But she won't have the staying power of Joe Rogan. She's not even going to produce enough content. She only has 12 episodes. That's hardly enough to do anything, really. And again, somebody mentioned too, which I thought was really interesting, that she needed 30 some odd people to produce this one bitty podcast. So again, I think she's running out of steam, and her and Harry are running out of ideas because they were never creatives in the first place, and they've really stuck themselves in something that they can't win. So anyways, guys, I feel like this was a little spastic, but it was kind of weird because people were walking by and I was like, okay, and like the sunlight changed, and it is what it is. But hey, I got a little bit of time, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.